Down to write what would someday become the amazing anime Naruto, he wasn't 100% clear on some minor details like whether the titular character should be a human or a fox. But he did know one thing: his hero would need to have a worthy rival for him to focus his energy on, and act as the ultimate encouragement for Naruto to accomplish great physical feats. Really, the entire story of Naruto is based in no small part around his relationship with Sasuke Uchiha, and how these two have hated each other ever since they were little kids. But all that childish fighting led to a big payoff when Naruto and Sasuke finally faced each other in a serious fight as adults. Once boring old Sakura's out of the way, these two went all out, with Naruto extolling the value of teamwork between devastating blows. Ultimately, Sasuke lashes out with Chidori. Naruto uses the last of the Nine Tails chakra to counter with Rasengan, and they each end up losing an arm, causing a large amount of property damage and learning a valuable lesson about friendship along the way. The match between brothers Sasuke and Itachi is not only one of the best in all of Naruto, but I'd rank it up there with some of the best anime battles of all time. Like the previous battle between Naruto and Sasuke, this one involves as much punching as it does hurt feelings and long-standing grudges, which is what makes it such a compelling fight. For years, Sasuke blamed Itachi for the loss of his family, and he brought all of that anger and resentment to their fight in full force. In fact, he was so furious at his brother that he activated his cursed seal of heaven, unleashing Orochimaru, who was waiting for just such an opportunity to seize control of Sasuke's body. Not only did Itachi take a beating from his own brother, but he sealed Orochimaru away and delivered a stern poke to Sasuke's forehead before losing his life to his disease. This definitely wasn't a feel-good battle. In fact, I have to admit I felt rather bad watching it, but I guess that's kind of the point. There is a reason why our hero Naruto succeeds in many instances where his fellow shinobi fail, and his match with Pain is a great example of this. While the ninjas of Konoha tried to take him down, Naruto actually took the time to empathize with him, in between throwing out some of his most awesome moves. Emotional intelligence isn't an official ninja move, but don't underestimate its power. He throws out some of his classic shadow clones, strikes with a Rasengan, and eventually is able to resist Nagato's attempt to control his body. Especially once our hero believes Hinata Hyuga lost her life in an effort to defend him. Most shinobi have delivered a final blow to a powerful enemy. It's pretty much a rite of passage. But Naruto was able to guilt Nagato into taking his own life by reviving people he had cut down not too long ago. It may not have been a traditional conclusion to the battle, but it was definitely a satisfying one. Kakashi tends to be a pretty chill guy, which is why it's great seeing him take part in a fight that truly challenges him, especially if it's against his former childhood friend and source of his Sharingan. Finding out your buddy's still alive is usually a good thing, but not when they're also a terrible criminal like Obito, who unleashes the Ten Tails and strikes out against Kakashi. At first, Kakashi is so stunned that he almost loses his life before Obito is temporarily stopped by Naruto, and then he realizes he better start putting his heart and his fists into this fight. Despite the losses suffered on his side, Kakashi accompanies Obito to another dimension to continue their fight. But despite the flashbacks to happier times, Kakashi ends up putting a lightning-filled kunai and most of his arms straight through Obito's chest. Well, that's definitely one way to finish a battle. Naruto vs. Gaara. If you ever thought you had a test go really badly, just keep in mind that it probably wasn't as dire as what happened to Naruto during his Chunin exam. We had already seen Gaara destroy people prior to his fight with Naruto, so the stakes were incredibly high as the entire village erupted into an all-out brawl. Even if Gaara was a little bit shaky after Sasuke had the nerve to make him bleed his own blood, it was still a harrowing battle for our young hero Naruto. These two shinobi have a lot in common. They both grew up feeling lonely and isolated, they both enjoy a good battle, and they both contain horrific monsters inside their bodies. This added an important emotional component to the matchup, and of course, made it all the more awesome to see them wailing on each other. Gaara's sand gives him a ridiculous amount of power and strength, but on Naruto's side, he has, he summons a big old frog, but that's not very much help. Once Gaara threatens Sakura, Naruto kicks it up a notch, throwing shadow clones at Gaara and taking advantage of the weak spot under his tail. Sure, creating 1,999 shadow clones might have been a little much, but it got the job done, and Naruto was able to defeat Gaara. Does it still count as a one-on-one battle if it's two actual humans and a ton of shadow clones? Well, regardless, let's take a look at a fight involving quite a few major players, like, say, the Shinobi Alliance. That's a lot of firepower, but it was what was needed to even have a chance of standing against Madara Uchiha, legendary leader of the Uchiha clan. The Shinobi Alliance may have had strength in numbers, but Madara had a trick up his sleeve too. Or rather, he had one up in the sky since he pulled down a meteorite to rain down upon his enemies. I know he's a bad guy, but you have to admit that's a pretty show-stopping move. For a time, Madara was actually able to hold off not just one, but 5 Kages, and they fought on into the night. Even though the leaders were unable to bring Madara down, it was amazing to see them all throwing everything they had into a battle against a lone opponent. Orochimaru is a legendary Sannin, and one of the big bads of Naruto. So you know that when he's personally involved in a fight, it's going to be epic, especially when he goes up against some of his former teammates. At one point, Orochimaru hoped Tsunade would use her amazing powers to heal him, but instead he ended up facing off against her and Jiraiya. And as a great bonus battle, we also got to see Naruto going up against Kabuto, as if there wasn't enough action going on with these heavy-hitting Sannin. When Orochimaru sees Naruto's potential and decides to take him out, Tsunade and Jiraiya really step up their game in the young ninja's defense. They officially unfriend Orochimaru, and the ninjas and their summoned creatures face off. Seeing a slug, toad, and snake fight each other might not sound that cool, but actually, what am I saying? I totally watched that in real life, especially since it made for such a great battle in this match. Although Tsunade and Jiraiya were able to protect themselves and Naruto, Orochimaru and Kabuto survived to fight another day. Before becoming a parent himself, Naruto creator Masashi Kishimoto didn't intend to include Naruto's parents beyond the fact that they had once sacrificed their lives for their son. But I'm definitely glad he did for quite a few reasons, one of which is definitely his match against Obito. We know that a parent's love for their child is strong, but it's so rare that we get to see a father fighting against a Ninetales in order to protect their cute little baby. And although I know Obito is a bad guy, was planting explosives on tiny infant Naruto really necessary? In order to defeat the Ninetales, Minato had to bring down Obito, nailing him with a Rasengan and branding him with the Flying Thunder God seal. But as we all know, this battle really ended with Minato sealing the Ninetales inside Naruto, at the cost of his own life. We all love watching Naruto and Sasuke fight against one another, but it's also satisfying when they team up for a great battle. Like that time they took on Kaguya Otsutsuki together. She teleported Team 7 inside an active volcano, which is really just a bold way to kick off a fight. Obviously, our heroes survived and continued fighting against Kaguya while simultaneously playing a rousing game of the floor is made of lava. Naruto went all out with his shadow clones, while Kaguya tried separating Naruto and Sasuke and manipulating the elements in her favor. It took the combined efforts of Team 7, but they finally managed to seal Kaguya and eliminate her as a threat. Rock Lee may have an absolutely indomitable spirit, but sometimes he doesn't have the skills to back up his enthusiasm. In his defense, he's pretty limited by his inability to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, so it seems unfair that he had to go up against someone like Gaara during his Chunin exam. But still, I have to admit that this is one of the greatest battles on the show, and Lee definitely went all out, as he always does. At top speed, Lee is almost unimaginably fast, but it wasn't enough to get through Gaara's fearsome shield of sand without resorting to removing his ankle weights. That may not seem very impressive, but trust me, it is in this case. Lee was the first person to be able to land a hit on Gaara, and managed to make some impressive dents in his armor of sand. In the end, Lee ends up pulling out the toughest move in his repertoire, the Reverse Lotus. But even that isn't enough. Lee finds himself at Gaara's mercy and gets his leg and arm crushed for his trouble. Even though Gaara was the winner and, didn't get parts of his body crushed, fans still couldn't help but feel sorry for him when he was baffled by Guy's kindness towards Lee.